Everyone's talking today about supply chain 4.0, but what really is it? So let's talk a little bit about the dimensions and the interpretation of supply chain 4.0. And let's start with connectivity. There's a lot of players and parties involved that are contributing to the supply chain process and that need to have instant access to the right type of data that's filtered from your big data. You have on the one hand your predictive analytics that enable users to really see how they enhance the demand signal. You have the prescriptive analytics to be able to guide people in their decisions, and you have your descriptive analytics to just be able to really look at the right exceptions. And to be able to do that, you need to have a good balance between your machine learning enabled algorithms on the one hand and the human touch on the other hand to really look at the right KPIs and thresholds. And that causes a complete digital shakeout because supply chain does not stand by itself. It's really connecting all parties, from the consumer who wants to be more individualized, who needs to have access to their individual orders on the one hand, and your suppliers who want to feel and see what their contribution is and the impact on their commitments. Now, all these functions are managed by talent. On the one hand, you have the talent that's already existing, that requires some reschooling, re-education to focus on the right type of work and tasks. And on the other hand, you have talent that needs to be hired, and that's very scarce because the degrees that are there currently do not provide necessarily all the key points that are needed for the roles that they will play. So there also universities and colleges really need to convert their degrees to fit what is needed in supply chain 4.0. Next to the interpretation, there's also the challenges. And we can subdivide it between internal challenges and external challenges. Some internal challenges. Too often, companies are really corporate silos. Everyone is kind of disconnected, whether you talk about R&D or marketing or finance or production. They all work independently and don't communicate together. And technology can be an important enabler to enhance that communication, but next to technology there also needs to be a mentality switch or a change management from leadership throughout all levels of the company to be able to really talk and act in unison. On the other hand, you have your external challenges. Supply chains are not consisting of just local stakeholders anymore. There's so many parties involved. You have a multi-enterprise ecosystem, a kind of hive, where all parties from suppliers to tollers to contract manufacturers to customers are all connected. They all need selective access to their part of the data. For example, OMP Cloud can provide secure, selective access to these parties. And there's still, of course, trust needed to allow them access. And it also is an important mentality change because from a legal point of view, you need to make sure that suppliers can have access to collaborate with your own supply chain systems. Let's talk as a third point about the different industries that we focus on, because the supply chain maturity in each of these industries can be completely different. We serve solutions to both semi-process and milled products. Now, what is semi-process? It's life science, it's chemicals, it's consumer goods, including food and beverage. And on the other hand, you have milled products, which includes metals, paper, and packaging. And each of these industries can be at very different levels of maturity in their path towards supply chain excellence, with a different adoption, different nature, different modeling, and optimization as well, which we pay attention to because that needs to be recognized to be successful. Let's take an example. In the life science, the focus is heavily on the network because the value streams cross often multiple continents and multiple regions. So we need to be able to optimize from supplier all the way to the point of sale, which is often the hospitals and so forth. In the metals, for example, they pay a lot more attention to manufacturing optimization, including material allocation to connect really the specifics of slabs, for example, with the orders and to connect them correctly. And being able to take that into account in the solution is very key. In short, the dimensions we talked about today are covered by OMP to fit your needs and be future-proof.